Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey guys, thanks for downloading the show. On this episode, I talk with Izzy Rock before yesterday's episode actually started. It's the part that we were talking about on yesterday's episode that I said would come out today. I hope you guys enjoy it. It was a good conversation, but I didn't know that Izzy thought the show had started, and I awkwardly figured that out about 20 or so minutes later. You can hear me realize, oh wait, I fucked up. I hope you guys enjoy it, and don't forget on Thursday, February's Dumbass of the Month episode will be up with Benny Mac. It should be a lot of fun. And on Friday, there will be a bonus episode with Mama Kate, and we will talk about why there is a Friday show on Friday show. Hope you all are having a great week. If you have anything that you want to say, send me an email, jason@wedon'thavecookies.com, or leave me a voicemail. Call 929-266-9342, and I'll talk to you Thursday.
Paid for it and do it, all the time.
Yeah.
It would be fun to do it all the time.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got a million other ways of getting paid. But Joe Rogan, coming on every day for what's like 2 or 3 hours?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
damn.
some weeks he packs them in and releases, 5 or 6 episodes through 2 to 3 hours at a time, and to get 90 million downloads a month.
Yeah.
90
That's
million
incredible,
downloads a month.
man.
The audience he's reaching and what he's able to bring to the table is going to change society in some small way. Yeah, I think...
you can't talk to that many... You can't have that many people listen to you without making an impact.
Yeah,
somehow.
I think he's making a positive impact as far as health, as far as fitness, as far as like looking and being open-minded to new ideas. And we all get stuck in our own bubbles of politics or religion or whatever, and he brings people on that have a different point of view that you might not agree with, but you can take and it can kind of shape your opinion about the world when you hear somebody who can eloquently explain their opinion and why they believe what they believe. And I really appreciate hearing both sides. Like, he's had some great guests over the 900 plus episodes he's done, and I've been blown away to do that much content and still be able to keep it awesome.
Yeah,
it's good, man.
Something that got me, it's funny you brought that up, because the other day I was watching CNN and they were making fun of Trump for his love of meatloaf. And I noticed,
ridiculous.
I noticed they dug up a tweet that he made from 2011 about Mar-a-Lago having the best meatloaf. I always tune into CNN. It's my go-to channel.
Right.
I have the news on in the background all day long. And it hit me, I need to freshen up my perspective. Even if it's a perspective I don't agree with, I can't keep watching a channel who's bashing somebody for liking meatloaf.
Right.
There has to be, I need some kind of diversity. And for the first time, and I don't even remember when, I guess probably since the early days of the channel, I tuned into Fox News. And I was just like, it blew my mind how completely different their version of things were. And one thing that kept me tuned in, which I wasn't expecting, was, you remember Alan Combs?
Yeah.
He passed away.
Right.
I didn't hear about it. And when I tuned in, they were talking about that. And I hate Sean Hannity. That's kind of a strong term for it, but there is something about the guy that, as impassioned as he gets, it seems very disingenuous somehow. I don't understand how you can have that kind of a mix where I don't believe a word you're saying, but you're saying it with a lot of vigor.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to mix. It seems like the opposite. But I thought, I have to see what Sean has to say about Alan, because I always liked Alan. And unfortunately, because they were close friends, he was off the show to get over it. And there was a girl on, but it kind of surprised me that I got hooked into Fox News somehow.
Yeah, I've become a political junkie from 2007 on. I've always voted. I voted. I turned 44 this year, so I've first election I could vote in was The major presidential election was the 92 election where it was Clinton, and he was on Arsenio Hall and had the saxophone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed the game of politics because I see it as a game. Yeah, dude, to see both sides and to really try and pay attention to both sides and to get your news sources from, like, my news sources range from Reuters to AP to Vice News to Fox News to CNN to, I try to keep what I pay attention to, to look and see, is it biased or is it bullshit? And there's a lot of bullshit out there. Like, I was having a conversation with a couple of my friends in my community who they're someplace sports with my son, and they're big time Republicans and Trump supporters, and they were I can't count how many times I heard fake news in a matter of a 10-minute conversation. They got so awkward, and I try to remove passion and emotion when I'm having a conversation about politics, because if you start name calling or start getting aggressive, people get so turned off, dude.
And I'm more of a libertarian than anything.
Yes.
So I really didn't have a dog in the hunt because Johnson just kind of fucked everything up almost from jump. And I really think, I don't want to get too far away from my point, but I really think the libertarians really screwed up this year, because I don't think, just as pretty much every other year, I don't think they really thought they had a chance.
Right.
And they kind of grandfathered this guy and said, you know what? Ron Paul isn't running this year. Rand's going for the Republican ticket. It's your turn. Kind of like what the Democrats did with Hillary. It's your time. Here you go. We're not going to make it anyway. Let's give this guy his due. Here's his gold watch.
Yeah.
And I think if they would have put somebody in there that was, I don't want to say more vetted, because the president and vice presidential candidate had a lot of good qualities.
Yeah.
But I think if they would have taken their time more, we would have had such a good shot, because there's so much hate against Hillary. There was so much hate against Trump. You have RC Cola right between Pepsi and Coke.
Yeah.
And both of them just had this, salmonella outbreak at their factories. Right there's your third option. I always thought that we one day would have our chance, and I think that was it. And unfortunately, it feels like I don't think we'll ever have that big of an opportunity to jump in,
Yeah, it makes me wonder how many of the I've paid attention to the libertarian movement over the past few years, and a few of my friends are big-time libertarians, and I find that they tend to be the most fair and balanced when it comes to looking at, all of our money is being spent on all this bullshit, and you want to take our freedoms away for these certain things, and a lot of them tend to lean more to the right, and this whole alt-right thing that popped up, a lot of them could be labeled as that, but when you start putting everybody into a box and saying these guys are neo-Nazis, it's like, it's a little bit more dynamic than that. The political spectrum is dense when you start talking to people who are anarchists but don't believe we should be out there trashing everybody's stuff. They just believe that government shouldn't have as much control as it is. We shouldn't be paying taxes on each and everything, all the licenses that we have. And so I appreciate that idea, but then I'm like, well, who's going to pay for the roads? Who's going to, there are some people who, without the public education system, without the being able to have food stamps, dude, I grew up on food stamps. If we didn't have food stamps and have a way to feed us coming in, it would have been so much more rough than it was. And I grew up in East Dayton. Dayton, Ohio was a rough place for a nerdy kid who grew up in the 70s and 80s being bused from one point of town to the other. My mom didn't drive. Imagine, not being able to really focus at school because of all this chaos. And this is just a decade after the civil rights movement. So do you think a white kid who's in a class where there's maybe 2 or 3 other white kids is going to be treated kindly? I wasn't treated kindly. But at home, I saw the ignorance of, my hillbilly parent. Not my parents were pretty cool, but my extended family members were not cool. one of the conversation today, he was like, Obama brought out more racism than ever. And I said, man, that's bullshit. I grew up around some people who were not very kind to how they viewed people that did not look like them. As a child, when I got opened up to stuff like Public Enemy, and you hear a different point of view from music that you would listen to, whether it's NWA or whether it's going to school with people who weren't like you, but they were from the same economic background as you. And you realize, like, it's really a class issue more than anything.
I have this theory that we could all be the same color, and we would divide ourselves into hair color if it wasn't skin tone. We divide ourselves into Xbox and PlayStation. We divide ourselves into Android and iPhone. There's some kind of flaw in humanity where we have to segregate ourselves, whether we want to or not. We just do.
DNA, dude.
Yeah.
We're tribal beings. Whether you go to a different high school, like we go to the Northmont School District. Mm-hmm. When we go over to Centerville, and we've played Centerville in sports, I didn't grow up going to Northmont, but I've coached football there. My kids have gone there their whole lives, and so I'm kind of root for that area. And so you find, like, people will find division and tribalism amongst anything and everything. Mm-hmm. Even growing up with teenagers, I have a kid who's about to be 14 and a kid who's about to be 17. And if you understand just the basic biology of what sex is and when you want to go mate with other people, that's what all the dating and all that stuff is all for. It's to procreate, and then to try and get my kids to understand that stuff instead of just going, don't have sex. It's like, understand your biology, treat masturbation as as like a maintenance on your car. Like, sometimes you gotta get your car maintenance. Like, I told my kids a long time ago, just take care of yourself so you don't have to worry about chasing girls all the time. And I think, that kind of parenting is paid off. And when you look at the political spectrum and then you look at what you can do in your community, dude, I think that we can have a greater impact on ourselves and the people around us than just getting on social media, shouting your political opinions. Like for me, being part of Gym City Podcast, which is focused in and around the Dayton area and covers all sorts of stuff. Like tomorrow, we're releasing an episode Monday, we're releasing an episode with the Dayton Police Department where we sit down with the 3 chiefs. How often do you get to sit down for an hour and ask police officers questions?
Yeah, very true.
So for me, instead of sitting there bitching, which I see so many people do on like Dayton Daily News or WHIO, people are always complaining about the Dayton area.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do about it? The thing I like about your podcast especially is that you bring together the comedy community and you give them a voice to be heard. People that might not have had a voice to be heard. It's not like the radio stations and TV stations are pulling these guys in to have half-an-hour conversations where you get to hear how funny and their personalities and stuff. Like Mama Kate is one of your frequent guests, and I love hearing her and hearing her opinion.
She is so she's one of my favorite people to have on the show, and she just left. Yeah. And I told her that it upset me for so long when I was starting out because she's so funny.
Yeah.
And it was some of the lowest rated shows. Because so all these other people, when they promote it, it goes a lot further. Uh-huh. And with her, because she's got so many kids in Catholic school and stuff, she doesn't mention that part of her life, And it bothered me because to me, those are the best shows. Yeah. But not as many people hear those. And I feel it's not so much I want the downloads as much as this lady needs to be heard. Sure. People need to check her out because she's hilarious,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, man, I think what podcasting brings to the table these days, because I don't look at it as I'm making a paycheck from it at all, because it's all volunteer work for what we do. I've been releasing podcasts since 2012 with Tales from the Hard Side, and it's basically an archive of my life. Like, over the years, I've had all sorts of different people on from all walks of life, from famous comedians to my family to authors and actors, and then getting involved with the Gym City Podcast and really shaping how we released episodes, the days we released episodes, and to have that creative control. Like, I feel like the direction we're heading is a very positive one especially as podcasts grow and more people become aware of them. And we're doing the Gym City Comic Con where we're going to have a live Gym City podcast. And we're going to have a podcast Q&A where people can come in and answer questions. And you're going to be part of that.
Yeah. Just real quick, I don't mean to stop you. I haven't started the show, so if you want to get into it, I didn't want you
had started the show.
No, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Let me bring stuff up because I just realized when you said that, I'm like, oh shit, he thinks the show's going.
Yeah, I thought.
So I'm sorry, man. I don't want to waste your time. Let me.
Hey, that's
I just got into talking, man. It was a good conversation, and I get in the habit when the mic's in my hand.
Yeah.
I talk this way, so I totally see.
Yeah, I thought we were recording. No, it's no big deal.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review.
I thought we were recording.